not sure anyone lost here. We just ran out of time. Throws on the run, intercepted. Special players make special plays on special days. Countdown on 30, 20, 10, touchdown.
Welcome to OUA Today, everyone. Marshall Ferguson alongside head coach of the Windsor men's football program, Joe Demore. We're doing a little side podcast here, a little bonus for you. If you're interested in any of our coverage, before I start this, go to OUAtoday.com, new website we hooked up, doing some blogs there, some interesting things through the week, covering CIS East West Bowl, which you are at. You've been at a couple of times now, Coach Demore. You're the offensive coordinator this year. The group that you got handed is ridiculous.
Yeah, you know what, and that's probably why I volunteered. Originally, this is my first time being a coordinator here. I've always helped out, with receivers, positional group. But this year I was like, you know what, I want to kind of get involved more. A lot of times when there's so many coaches, we're just standing around and things like that. So I felt, you know what, and then I looked at the roster and I said, we got Will Finch, Fracas, Mercer Timmons. I was like, that's a pretty good group of people, and it'll make me look good when I'm calling plays. So I decided to volunteer and do that.
How do you attack a group that has so much talent? Like, what's the mindset coming into this week that, obviously you want their talent to be able to shine through, but when you look at that actual group, and again, you got Declan Cross as a good example of a guy who I know very well from my playing days, but he's a very unique person, and I know you've put in some rhino packages and some trips and things like that, because when you have a guy like that, you could really change kind of the multiplicity of your offense, if you will. So how do you attack the week based on personnel?
Well, that's a good point, because, at our place, we have Nate O'Halloran, who's similar to Cross, and so I was able to use some things that I use with Nate, back home and things like that. There are some rules in the game that kind of limit us from what we can do. There's only certain formations we can run. I joked around with Cross that he was asking me about back releases, and I said, we only have them in the end zone, so you get all the touchdowns. I said, we'll call you the vulture. You'll take touchdowns away from Mercer, he'll do all the work, and he'll score. And he was like, that's perfect. So, we're limited with the running backs with only Wayne and Mercer, so I told Cross he is going to carry the rock, which obviously excited him, but that was a unique challenge, understanding where guys played. I made some phone calls before we came to some of the head coaches, and, is he a slot, is he, wide out? Every year, we have a fantastic goal line, but no one's a natural center, which is always a challenge. We had that a couple years ago, so, we got Jameson from Western playing center. Obviously not a natural position for him, doing a great job, but, those are some of the challenges that we face where we don't have guys, we have guys fitting into a spot that they don't normally play.
Why do you think that center question is interesting to me? Because there are Canadian centers who obviously have excelled in the CFL. Brett Jones came out, played right away. He was the rookie of the year, I believe, in the CFL playing center. You also had Danny Grew, who came out from Laval. Seems like Laval always has that center that they need and that comes here, but it does seem like the West team kind of struggles year after year. I know when I played in this game when you were there in 2013, it was the same thing. We had guys that were kind of popping in and out and trying some different spots. I guess the unique situation of having guys who are invited and that might not necessarily play the same position that they do back home, it does create a weird kind of culture to the team, doesn't it? Absolutely.
The first day we're like, anyone play center, no one raises their hand, and then anyone want to play center, and then you get the half hand going up. But we always tell the guys, learn to play center. Like you said, a lot of Canadians play that position. For you to learn that skill set, it doesn't hurt you. Especially if you're a guard, the CFL guys want interior guys to be, multi-dimensional and things like that. So it is tough. Sometimes we try to make specific calls, like to schools, like, hey, we need this guy and things like that. But, being in Montreal this year, a little more challenging. Not like in the past with London where you have 11 OUA teams you can kind of reach out to, or drive away. Where here, we're limited to, 4 or 5 teams. So, it's unique, but we've been doing a good job since.
If there's one guy in the OUA that you play against that you wish you could pluck off the roster of a team and play with here, who would that be, regardless of year eligibility otherwise? Someone that you hate playing against, but damn, do you respect them?
Well, Dylan Campbell's a pretty special young man. Mac, probably 4 or 5 receivers, any of those kids I would take at any given time. Just thinking Western, obviously, to work with Will is pretty exciting. I never really got a chance to work with him before and things like that. So he's a pretty special kid. So, there's a lot of talent in the OUA. I think guys are getting better and better every year, and there's more talent growing and things like that. And, as a coach, you would take any skilled and talented player on your roster.
What about Will, do you think, makes him a special player?
Well, I think obviously his size is a huge advantage for him. I think he can make all the throws.
Yeah.
What I was really impressed by is how well he throws on the run, in particular to the left.
Yeah, I know you were doing some roller stuff today.
Yeah.
I noticed that too. He just flicks it.
Yeah,
It's gone,
and
right?
you know, most guys, you know, it's a natural throw to the right. You know, you're throwing on the run. It's kind of, you know, downhill. Where the left, you got to flip the hips
Right.
and square the shoulders. And he is just throwing, you know, 20-yard darts, you know, to the sideline. That's pretty special. He has a gift of, you know, the physical aspect of being able to run the ball, you know, take the hits and things like that. But you know, he can make all the throws, and you know, as a quarterback, that's what you want, right? A guy that can make all the throws. You're not limiting your playbook based on arm strength and things like that. So he can do it all. So I was impressed by that.
What do you consider a successful week here?
I think, you know, for me, when I told the kids at the beginning, you know, I'm not here to change anything they do. Obviously, they're all here for a reason because they have a great skill
Right.
set.
Yep.
They're all coached by fantastic coaches. I'm not here to say that, you know, anything I do is right and anything else you do is wrong. There's all kinds of different techniques. I told them to, you know, embrace some of the new things that they learn. It doesn't mean you have to change what you do. Obviously, do what you're being coached back at your place, but it's nothing wrong with learning new techniques. But our goal, like I said, I want everyone to play on Saturday. That's first and foremost. Injuries, you want to make sure no one gets hurt, you know, during the course of the week. But I just want them to play fast. I didn't want them to make the playbook overly complicated, that they had to go, okay, what do I have here? All our backside routes are mirrored or the same throughout certain concepts.
Yep.
So I just wanted them to be able to play fast. And mentally, they have not made any mistakes, considering we haven't watched much film.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't want to they have 2 hours downtime. I didn't want to stick them in a film room watching film for 2 hours. So I said, you know, as long as you're making the right moves on the field, I'm not going to put you in a classroom. So they took that to heart, and that's been really clear.
Yeah, I think any former player that's been in this situation will appreciate the hour and a half to nap. I was actually just back inside of the residence with some of the guys, and they said, I can't believe it's 2:50 already. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, the day just flies because you're going from thing to thing to thing. And this whole experience is very similar to a training camp. I know some teams do power practices, most of them
Yeah.
have switched to that, but the old kind of 2-a-day style, very similar to a training camp. And when you think about it, during training camp, one of the biggest concerns is keeping guys healthy.
Absolutely.
Right? And then you come here and a lot of people say, well, it's a showcase and it's this and that. But this afternoon we're strapping on the pads and going across, you know, crossover.
Yeah, and that's usually the most physical aspect of it.
Yeah.
And you know, that's why during the week, you know, we kind of reduced some of the, you know, contact stuff. We actually took out the team portion of the drill this afternoon.
Yep.
We're not going against the Easton team because we don't have. We're only going helmets and shoulders.
Yep.
We obviously, kids, no matter what you tell them to stay up, it's just the way it is.
Gravity's crazy.
Even the first practice, you know, a couple guys, you know, understand. You know, the CFL guys come out and they tell them, we're evaluating everything you do. So I'll say they're going to go hard in everything they do, but then us coaches say, whoa, take it easy. And then they're like, well, you know, they're evaluating me. You're telling me to take it easy. I don't have a fine line, some of these kids. So, and that's the reason they're here. But I'm having a lot of fun doing it and things like that. And, you know, I'm excited about that.
How thick is the Joe Demore playbook? We just talked about it for a second. You said it's pretty simple, but what are we actually looking at in terms of what guys have got to get down in the period?
Playbook, running what plays, I think we have 4.
I know at Windsor, it's up and down and crazy because I've talked to Austin about it, and he said everything changes every week. And
yeah, we do some different things. Like, you know, we'll have our base concepts that we were successful at and things like that. But, you know, we like to game plan against teams. Obviously, what they do, some teams are really different than others. So, but here, you know, we got, I think, 3 quick games. We got 4 vertical games. We got, you know, 2 or 3 concepts with some rollouts, a couple screens, and then 4 run plays.
Yeah.
So we'll put it all in, like, basically in 2 days. We'll put some play action in tomorrow morning. 2-3 play action, and then got a couple red zone plays, you know, some sneaky ones to just work in the goal line area there. But like I said, the kids have picked it up. It's nice to have a group of kids that, you know, they're all playing at a high level. They're all probably, you know, coming from their programs. They are the top kids and things like that. So, you know, their football knowledge is really high. You know, when you get back home, you have some of the young kids trying to catch up. You got to slow down a little bit. Here, you know, we can go full speed, and you know, I was really happy with that. So, not overly complicated. Kids seem to be getting it; they're enjoying it, and things like that. So, that's all.
That's awesome. Who is someone that you've seen in the first 2 practices here, 2 days, that you didn't really know that much about before? It can be OUA or outside of it, that you've gone, that's a heck of a football player.
Well, there's 3 kids on our team. Obviously, I haven't been able to see the East too much. One guy that's out of our conference that I'm impressed by, and again, like, to be honest, I don't even know his name that well, but it's the D lineman from Manitoba. Specimen. Looked at him and go, wow. Like, you know, as a coach, you're always looking for that type of player, and you're always like, where are those guys? Like, he's 6'5", 285 pounds, can run and move. Butcher from Western is pretty special. I don't know if he's even realized how talented he is. When you play behind Darryl Watt and Conop, sometimes you might not get the notoriety, but we knew when we played them every year and he came in, our guards and stuff, they hated playing against him. Physical, and he's really creating havoc. Greg Nyhoff, very talented. Obviously at Laurier, he was very successful. He was their go-to guy this year, but didn't realize how big he was. You know, even on film and playing against him when I'm actually with him here, he runs that interior option route. We're running some option routes, and he just uses that big body. He's physical. Really impressed with his skill set, and you know, a guy like George Johnson is about as athletic as they get. Still a little raw when it comes to maybe the route running aspect, but you just throw the ball up, he's probably coming down with it, and most of the time he likes doing that. That's kind of like his MO. So, you know, a couple of the CFL guys have told him, you know, about working on his route running skills, but he plays basketball for Western as well. And things like that, so that's challenging, right? You play a dual sport athlete, you're busy all year round and things like that, but I think if he commits to playing football, he'll have a chance to play at the next level.
If Joe DeMore was going to be a dual sport athlete, what 2 are you choosing?
Wow. Well, I did play football, so that would be one of them. Probably basketball. Though I do like badminton. I'm a big badminton guy. Not so much this year, but last year we went at it a lot. Me and the players during the off season. I had some skilled guys. Sam Mallion was a fantastic badminton player.
Not surprised by that.
So we used to have some battles. Andrew Bakos, one of our D linemen, who's now in Australia. We'd get up there and we'd get after it. Honestly, I think I lost 20 straight games to those guys before I finally won one against Sam. And it was the greatest thing in the world.
The underground badminton society of
it's like they got the badminton net set up in our St. Denis Center like every day, and they're always empty. So let's go. We bought new badminton rackets.
I was going to say, basketball coach Chris Oliver's just up there throwing chairs onto the corners.
So they make fun of me and the other coaches. So they're all going there to play like lunchtime basketball, and I'm over playing badminton. Stuff like that, but I like it. It's a fun sport, and you know, try to keep me in shape.
It won't be laughing when you get on the ladder and embarrass them from the from the foot speed of badminton.
Absolutely.
How it works. At Windsor, talk a little bit about your actual situation there. You're around Chantal Vallée, 5 championships in 5 years. The women's basketball program, men's basketball's come along and been top 5 nationally. You guys have been, you talked a bunch about the Western players and a whole slew of them that are obviously talented because they have great recruiting classes all the time, but you're kind of battling with them in that end of the province in terms of recruits and I wouldn't say notoriety because I think your program's obviously got its own name and you guys are your own people, but when you think about the playoff battles you've had with Western the last couple of years and what your obvious end goal is when you're surrounded by, we said no phones in the interview. So answer.
No. It's Dobie looking for me. He's like, where are you, Joe? It's Coach Dobie.
You can't hear us, or what?
No, it's Scott. It's the boss looking for me.
Head coach of the West team, Brian Dobie, trying to share. That's okay. We're on our way to the OC.
I've been printing all the practice plans every day, so he's probably nervous. He's like, Joe usually has this taken care of. What's going on?
But your situation there at Windsor, being surrounded by all these championship teams, and then you're right on the cusp of being one of those very special teams. Is there a culture inside the Windsor Athletics and Recreation building brought on by women's basketball and some of these other track and fields, another great team there that have won championships? Like, what's it like in Windsor?
Well, you know what, for myself, being, you know, I'm the youngest coach there as far as, you know, not so much age, but as far as experience. You know, even though Chantal's only been there 9 years, you can pretty much consider her like
those first 4 years must have been rough.
But you know, Coach Oliver there, obviously Dennis has been there, you know, almost 30 years now, and so coming in and having a chance to learn from them, and you know, despite football being such a unique sport compared to, you know, say track and field and basketball, you learn a lot from them. Chantal is about as good as it gets when it comes to running a program. She is tough on her girls, but I think they understand, you know, she cares about them, but at the same time, she knows what it takes to win championships, obviously. And I've learned a lot from her, like just taking things I've seen, kind of talking to people and how she handles certain situations. I've sat down with her and said, hey, this is a situation I have, how would you handle this? And, you know, she gives me great advice and things like that. And, you know, Coach Oliver's does a great job of finding talent. I think he's a great scout when it comes to finding great athletes and things like that. He's helped out. He's likes to go to the U.S. We've had some success recently trying to get some kids from the U.S. Being that border city and things like that. But Assiduate in Windsor taken over the last 4 years. It's been really good. We've had been a playoff team. We're trying to get to the next step. Obviously, Western and Mac and Guelph, those queens like that. They've always really still that upper echelon. But I don't approach recruiting like, hey, I gotta out recruit those guys. I think we're a unique situation in Windsor. We have a ton of talent in the city. My goal was just to keep them there. Guys like Quinlan, a Windsor guy, Nate Riva from Western, Pavel Gruba, all Windsor kids that went on and had super successful careers at other programs. So when I got there, I was like, I just can't let these kids leave. I think we did a great job. We've always lost kids in the past, which happens. 1 or 2 kids, but I think if we keep the majority of the core there, we got a chance.
Kingston's lost a kid or two before too. So.
Yeah,
It's the way it goes. Everybody has their different needs,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
And again, we're not the NCAA, and when you think about the idea of how much more academics play into the decisions that you're making here, every school I find in the OUA academically is so unique. Obviously, every place is going to offer a couple of similar programs, but there is a lot of variety in the province across the entire league. So again, it's not as though Windsor kids are leaving because they look at your program and go, I don't want to play there.
No, absolutely,
right?
and a lot of it is academic. We lost a receiver to Queens last year, but he got into their business program, which is, I think 1 in every 13 kids get into there. So it's, what am I going to say? No, you should
don't follow your dreams.
Yeah, and don't go to one of the best business schools in the country because you want to play football at Windsor.
Yeah.
So I understand those things, but I think we keep relationships strong, especially when kids go away. I went away to school, didn't work out, came home. We want to keep those doors open for any situation that ever happens like that.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about being a border city. You are the closest of any of the OUA schools to being to a major American city. Outside of recruiting, does that have any influence? Because I always wondered that as a player, because sometimes we would watch a film of your games, and I go, that's a really American concept. What are they running? And it's not as though, we don't all have cable television, we don't all watch the NFL, we all see it, but I always wondered, just because you are so close, and maybe, you go to a coaching clinic at Michigan or here or there's just different things that are available at that end of the province, as there is if you're closer to the GTA, right? There's different opportunities. Does that American influence have any part on your program? Does it play any role?
Well, you know what? As far as systems and stuff like that, there's things you can take. Having the extra player, I've gone to camps where you look at the empty sets in the U.S. Great concepts. We can use them and just have a back in the backfield, which Pass Pro is even better than it's empty. So we've been able to do that. It helps in recruiting. Having that access to that professional world. The way it works in Windsor, our city buses go to all the professional games.
Yeah.
You can jump on a bus, go get dropped off in front of,
Ford Field,
and right next to it's Comerica Park. And so in recruiting, we use that. We tell kids that, we have access to those professional worlds. When you're going to have free time as a university student, you want to go watch some games, you're a fan, it's a great city to be in. So, but as far as the coaching aspect, I think we still coach the Canadian game, and we still have to coach it the way the Canadian game is played. So, there's things that we take, but ultimately, we still use concepts that, Mac uses, concepts that, Toronto uses, that when we watch film, go, hey, that worked against that team.
Yep.
Let's try to do something a little similar.
Yeah, that makes sense. You get the best of both worlds at Windsor. You get OSAP money because you're in the province, but you're close enough to go to the pro games in Detroit.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Do you go to many Tigers games? Do you like baseball?
I used to as a kid.
Yeah.
My grandma's a huge Tiger fan. I used to go with her all the time. I don't go as much anymore. I'm not a big live football guy.
Yeah.
I like to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
I like the analyst part of it. I like to watch the games, and oftentimes in the crowd, most people, with the drinking and stuff like that. I've been to a Monday night game. Coach Carter and I went to a Monday night Detroit Lions game, and it was a disaster.
Oh, really?
There was so much going on during the game, around me. I was like, I cannot.
You can't focus on the games.
I'm there. So I like watching on TV. Michigan games are exciting to go to. I've had the opportunity to go to a couple of those.
Nice.
That's an atmosphere that I could get used to. But they play during our season, so it's challenging to get up there.
Yeah, it is very difficult. Talking about going to baseball games when you were younger, did you play baseball?
Yes, I did. I actually played nationally. I was a pretty good baseball player.
Yeah.
Played in the Detroit Catholic League because our high school at Villanova, at the time, high schools around there didn't have baseball. So we played in the league, and played at Old Tiger Stadium, won a championship.
Wow.
We were the first Canadian team to ever win the Detroit Catholic League. So I got a chance to play there, which was pretty cool. But I haven't played since I was 18 and things like that. And it's a great sport, and but again, I wasn't one of those like Luke Wilsons where I can hit the ball out of the park. So I gave that up.
The Little League World Series champion, Joe.
Yeah, that's about it. That's about it.
That's pretty interesting, though. That's good to hear. Let's talk rounding up here about your season coming up.
Yeah.
The group that you have, Austin on his way out.
Moving on.
That's going to be the big story.
The era.
Everyone wants to
The
talk
Austin
about,
era.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, what is your team going to look like in the fall? What do you want it to look like, and what are your goals for the season?
Well, I think obviously losing Austin is a big thing, and it's unique for me. I'm obviously down about him leaving, but at the same time a little excited in the fact that it's something new for me. I've spent almost 8 years with Austin, 3 in the OVFL, and then we went right to the university together for 5. So it's been unique. Like I mentioned, the first time we call a play and it's not him I'm telling a play to is going to be different. But at the same time, we do have a lot of skill returning. We do lose Evan Pashonic, who's an all-Canadian talented player. But I think as far as young speed, skill set, we're about as talented as we ever been. Our line's intact for 2 more full seasons, which is good. Our running backs, we feel are about as good as they get with Crawford and Lumley and that. So the challenge, I think, for us, I don't want to take a step back. We've been a playoff team for 4 straight years. I think that has to be our goal. Despite Austin graduating, we have to still maintain that. Obviously, Yates, this year will be a challenge. It will depend on the quarterback position. Though we have some guys on our roster, Casey Wright, Andrew Downer, that perform well at spring. They have no starting experience in the CIS. Austin never missed a start, though he missed some games, and Casey has a chance to play a little bit. Hasn't really started a game, so there's an unknown there. And obviously we signed Liam Putt, who we feel is a guy that has the capability of coming in as a freshman and competing to play. Obviously you never know with a young kid how he's going to react. He has played at a high level nationally, 2-3 national teams. So I don't think it's going to get too big for him. But at the same time, you never know. You know what I mean? When they come in. But we're going to allow them all to compete. It's exciting. I think it's good for our team to have someone try to emerge from that spot as opposed to someone like Austin who's kind of set in stone for the last 5 years. Everyone kind of knew it was going to be Austin. This year, I think people understand there's a competition there, and competition brings out the best in you. So I think that's going to help us. We have to get a little better on special teams, but I think our young athleticism is going to improve that right off the bat, and then we'll see. But our goal is to be a playoff team, and then once you get there, I think anything can happen. We have to stay healthy, obviously. Depth is still an issue in certain areas, but 2016 is a year that we have, I think, 13 fifth-year kids. Hopefully the quarterback's got a year under his belt. We still have the line intact, and maybe we can get a push in 2016. But I think once we get in the playoffs, anything can happen. We got on a roll in 2-11. Got in, upset Ottawa on the road, and we're close to beating Western, going to a Yates. So anything can happen, I think, once that happens, and I think you understand that with Matt getting on the rolls, late and things like that. So, we're hoping that, but at the same time, we're just going to go in there and work hard and see what happens.
That's something I should have asked you earlier, is the Ottawa playoff matchups. How is it possible that the 2 furthest possible teams from each other match up every year in the playoffs? And a couple years ago, it was week 8 or week 9, and then the very next week was the opposite direction.
It was. We went there, lost by a last-second field goal. 2 weeks later, we go there, and then we beat them pretty good. This year, we beat them.
What are those trips like?
They're the worst, especially when you lose by a field goal. And then what happened was the CCS came and did testing. We were 3 hours later. It's crazy. So angry after losing by a point. Nobody wanted to talk to me at that point. But, then they came out. We beat them here on a Friday night. For them, that was probably the worst trip ever. 7 o'clock game from Ottawa, coming basically the next day. Then they come in the playoff game playing really well. Actually should blame you guys because, it was funny. We didn't want to play them. I was like, this team I didn't want to play was Ottawa. We beat them. They're playing well. I said, Max got to win. If Mac wins, we don't play them. Sure enough, you guys don't win.
And then I sucked, and then you guys got out.
You don't win, and then Ottawa comes to our ice and they beat us. So I'm going to blame you on that. But no, anyway, but it was, it's one of those things. Like, teams get, playing well on the road late in the year, and that happens. And I knew they were playing well, and we were a little nervous about that game. We knew we had to get out quick. They got out in front of us, and that was it.
I would love to claim that I threw that game so you guys got a tough matchup, but I just sucked. So there's nothing I can do about that.
It happens.
Unfortunately. Listen, Coach, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for
I appreciate it. Look forward to watching the game this Saturday. I'll be around at practice. Guys, follow along on Twitter, on YouTube, all sorts of fun stuff. And we'll be shooting some more stuff throughout the week with Coach Joe Moore. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
We
will see you tomorrow night.
And that will do it from St. Louis, where the score is inconclusive. Good night.